microphone working. Oh, everybody, welcome to another episode of Lucas Live. My microphone was turned down. Who knew, right? So let me turn that up so you guys can see me. Excited to be here with you guys today. Another wonderful episode of Lucas Live. You guys are here, maybe watching by replay. Maybe you're coming into the live broadcast. I just want to welcome you to the show. You may be watching us on LinkedIn. Welcome. Shout out to the LinkedIn followers, to those who I've connected with, to the people who we recently connected and you didn't know I had a live show and you're like, what's happening here, right? Well, I have a show called Lucas Live here through my company, Lucas Live Media, and we're on 3 days a week, Tuesday, Wednesday mornings at 8 a.m. Eastern, Thursday evenings at 7 p.m. Eastern, and I bring on great guests. We talk about great things. Our goal each show is education, motivation, liberation. We want you to learn something. I can't say it enough how important education is. It is the key to unlocking so many doors. So our goal is always to educate. Next, we want to motivate, get your motor going, get you moving. If you know a bunch of stuff but don't know how to do a bunch of stuff, what good is knowing a bunch of stuff, right? Like you could know everything in the world, but if you don't do anything with it, it doesn't do you any good. I'm all about education, motivation, and lastly, liberation. Liberation is a new thing for me since starting this show. I'm a person who has always lived in a box. I'm a person who's always just followed the rules of whoever. Didn't matter who made the rules. I didn't care. It was like, these are rules, and so I have to do it this way. But I've learned, and I'm learning, that life is more than just following these set rules. People have to dream bigger. They have to think outside the box. And I'm learning to think outside the box, which is why I started this show. I hit go live 5 months ago. 4 months ago, I don't know, April, I hit go live one day and I was sitting here like, I'm starting a live show, everybody. I'm going to start a live show. I had no idea where it was going to go. I had no idea how big it was going to be. And it's continued to grow. I have great guests. I've had great support locally, nationally. It's been incredible. I'm having a lot of fun doing this, guys. And I promise I'm going to keep bringing you guys great guests, great information. I want you to learn something. And I thank all of you who are loyal followers. And again, to the first-time viewers today, welcome. My name is Lucas Tyndale. I am your host. My goal each day is to bring you guys great guests that are going to give you something even more than what I can give you. I read a lot. I learn a lot. I study a lot. I try to bring you guys what I know and what I have. But I also try to bring in my great network of people who I meet through LinkedIn and people I've met in the community and friends I've known for years who are doing great things, who have a message, who have a lesson, who have something that will educate, motivate, and liberate you. So that is my goal each and every day. So as you guys come into the room, I want to welcome you guys. I'm going to make an adjustment to my mic here. I gotta change my mic because I have my daughter in my studio here. My daughter and her friends, she's 11. My daughter, Savannah, shout out to Savannah. I let her come in here with her friends. And I said, yeah, go ahead. I got a mic here. I got the camera. I got all this stuff. Go ahead and record a little something, make you guys a little music video or something. I don't know what I was thinking. I was just trying to be a nice dad, And they came in. I need to share this broadcast too. Hey, don't forget to share the broadcast. I'm going to share it to my Facebook page as well. We're here on Lucas Live Media and on my other social media platforms. But anyway, I told her to go ahead and, for her and her friends to go ahead and come into my, my office space here, my little studio. And, they really made themselves at home. I have to admit, they really made themselves at home. So I don't know what this is here, but this is some little banjo that was left in my office. So, I mean, whatever. I mean, I don't know. So I don't know how to play this quite yet, but I think she left it here so I could practice. This was hers when she was really little. Apparently it was a nice prop for their music video or something, but I have a few other little kid items going on here in my office, in my studio, but it's all good. So anybody else, who is that? Doc McStuffins. Shout out to Doc McStuffins. If you guys, I'm going to be working on my banjo skills. So, shout out to Savannah. Thanks for leaving your toys and such all over the place. So it's all good. It's okay. I'm not mad. My wife is on here laughing. They tore it up, honey. I had to really do a little cleaning in here because it was just too much going on with the Doc McStuffins banjo and everything. Shout out to Nicholas McDaniel. Thanks for joining the show, my friend. It was great going on a walk with you the other day. Can't wait to have you on the show. And shout out to Nicholas McDaniels. He does a lot of great stuff. He has a Black and Blue organization, with the police and the community and things like that. I look forward to having him on the show. He's also quite the cook, I understand, and he makes a mean barbecue sauce, which I'm telling you that, but I haven't tried it. So I mean, Nick, if you want me to try it, you know what I mean, so I can really vouch for it, you know what I mean. You know where I stay, right? You saw. I mean, I'm right here, right? Like, so whatever. I'm just saying. I'm not saying you got to hook me up. I'm just saying, hook me up. That's all I'm saying. It's all good. It's all good. So I'm excited again today. Let me shout out to our sponsor today. Shout out to Restream. You guys have been seeing us talk about Restream. Restream allows you to broadcast live video to 30 plus social networks at the same time. Most people have no idea that there's 30 plus social networks. I'm live on 4 or 5 networks, but you can go live on up to 30 networks. Very, very affordable. Restream is the best way to live stream. Shout out to them and thank them for their support. Look forward to more. You guys make sure you check them out at restream.io. Again, if you want to live stream to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, and many, many more, check out Restream at restream.io. Shout out to them today. All right, my man Nicholas McDaniels just said he's going to hook me up with some barbecue sauce. So life is good. Life is good. You know what I mean? That's what I was trying to get, was that just trying to get to the barbecue sauce. That's all it was about. Also, I want to let you guys know, my wife and I were on. Oh, look at that. That book is changing colors. That's weird, right? Y'all see that? That's special effects. Don't mind that. Our book, The Marriage Plan. I had my wife on last week. She's going to be on more. I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. Let me see if I hold my books here in front of my mic. Okay, I was just seeing. I think I messed that up. My wife was on last week with me. We had a great talk about relationships. If you guys know me, you know I love love. I love love. I love love stories. I watch a chick flick in a minute. I like love songs. I love love. I'm sorry. I'm a guy. Is it okay for a guy to love love? I love love. I love my wife. Love my family. I love the Lord. I love love. God is love, and I'm blessed to have the love of God, and I love love. And so we wrote this book, The Marriage Plan, to help singles and couples get ready for love, because a lot of people don't have a plan for love. They're in love. They fall in love. Like, oh, I tripped and fell in love. Well, that's nice. But what are you going to do when things get tough? Do you have a plan? So people make a business plan. People make a plan for a lot of stuff. They read what to expect when you're expecting and they're having a baby. They're trying to get a plan together. But then they fall in love and they think love should be easy because that's how it looked in the movies. Things went up and down and they just fell in each other's arms and ran through a field of flowers. And you get into a real relationship and there's no field of flowers. And you're like, what's going on? Well, you need a plan. Okay, so for the single ladies, single men, these books are available. And to the couples, you're going to make a plan together and you're going to work on it in your individual books. You're going to work on your plan and you're going to bring your plan together and you're going to work that thing out. And then I would always suggest having somebody who you can have as an accountability partner, a pastor, a counselor, a close friend, an unbiased party who can help hold you guys accountable. So you guys check out The Marriage Plan. That's available at tyndaletraining.com. On our website, tyndaletraining.com. I should have that somewhere to throw it up on the screen. But, oh, there it is. I think it's there. tyndaletraining.com. Check that out. You guys can purchase your copies of The Marriage Plan. It could change your life, I promise. Shout out to Janelle Carpenter. Glad to have you here today. Miss Amanda Jean Dukes, my wonderful producer. Thank you so much for being here. We have some exciting things coming up on Lucas Live this week. We have Dawn Pullen on tomorrow, who will be talking about her organization, Phenomenal Woman, and her award ceremony. And this Thursday, we have the cast and crew, the Top 5 again, back on one of YouTube's hottest shows, Top 5. Make sure you check them out on YouTube. And today, we have a great guest, John Register. He is an Army veteran. He is also an amputee. He's an athlete. He's going to share his story, and he's going to help us learn how we can amputate fear. I saw him on LinkedIn, and I saw his message and his lesson, and I reached out, and he's been so kind and so willing to join us today, and I'm excited to have him, and I'm excited today to introduce to you my guest, Mr. John Register. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey, Lucas, I'm so glad to be here. Now, that little thing you're playing right there, that's a ukulele, man. You haven't been to Hawaii.
Oh,
Hawaii.
I gotta go.
It's Oahu,
I didn't. My wife is trying to go to Hawaii, so she's watching. So
usually The Rock plays it.
Right. I gotta get it together. I gotta work on my ukuleles. I gotta get to Hawaii. I gotta get
skills, man.
I gotta do it. I didn't know. If I knew you could do it, I would have taken some lessons. Maybe you can help me out. I don't know what I'm doing. So glad that you're here today. Amazing story. I look forward to getting into it. I believe today you're going to hit all areas for us: education, motivation, liberation. Somebody's going to be set free by your story. Somebody's going to want to move forward in spite of what's going on and going wrong in their life. And they're going to learn something new today. That is our goal. So I just want to start today first by thanking you for your service to our country. As an Army veteran, it means so much to those of us who live in the liberties and freedoms we have. And we live in a crazy country where sometimes we question what's what. But at the end of the day, there's people like you who are fighting to make sure we can live the lives we live and even fight and protest if we don't like things. But that's only because we don't have bombs going off in our country every day, because people like you are, going overseas and have fought to make sure we can stay safe here. So thank you for that. And let's start with just a little bit about your background. Where are you from? What was life like leading up to being the guy who was in the Army and the athlete?
So yeah, thanks for the question. I grew up on the west side of Chicago, ran track and field, played football, kind of the kid things, and then I earned a scholarship, partial athletic scholarship and partial music scholarship to the University of Arkansas. There you go.
Oh,
absolutely.
Okay,
that's why I do the ukulele.
My man. Awesome. Right.
So I went to Arkansas and became ran track and field for the Hogs. It was old Southwest Conference before it was the Southeast Conference. Probably everybody knows them in the Southeast Conference right now. And we started the string off of winning 42 national championships. Now think about that. 42. Coach John McDonald is the most winningest coach in any sport, any NCAA for our lifetime right now. No one has touched him. 42 national championships. So, and in one year we won 3, right? So there are 3 on the board. You can win the outdoor, indoor, and then the cross country championship. So we did all of that. Was on with some amazing individuals that were Olympians like Michael Conley, right? So Mike Conley, you all might know his son, Michael Conley Jr. Absolutely, right? So
Mike
the dad
Conley Jr. went to Ohio State, I believe.
He went to Ohio State along
Ohio.
with 2 other kids that he coached on the basketball squad. So all these folks, they had parents that were quite great athletes, but they're all great human beings as well. And so we didn't have the most talented team. We just were able to get the job done because our coach always said, hey, if there is a shirt that's in front of you that is not red, pass them, right? So that
go for it. That's it.
So that's the way we kind of lived, and we kind of was a junkyard team, and we wound up winning these national championships. After that, I joined the United States Army because I wanted to continue to run track and field. So a lot of times when we're looking at the service, right? You're talking about thanks for service. A lot of folks are looking for service to be a means to an end to something. Yeah. And when I was in, that was kind of me. I was looking to run track and field, and I got called up to Operation Desert Shield and Desert Storm, and then served over there. But it gave me a very broad perspective, right? This perspective was that when you are in another country, and you are either fighting or you're, because every day is not fighting, you're really learning the population, you're learning the people, and it's incredible because what I was hearing coming out from the United States, from my parents or friends and family that were sending me letters and care notes, was not what I was seeing on the battlefield. Right, the 2 were disconnected. So the media would spin it one way while we were seeing something else on the field. So, for example, we were going out and a lot of times, we're doing this kind of chokehold and kind of starving folks out. Well, when you starve folks out, you see the impact and the effects of that, and you see the trauma of human life and just what happens. No one should be able to see something like that. It is the hardest thing to watch. And then you come back home and you see some of the same populations that might be, homeless or, downtown. You see the same similar things, and your heart, there's got to be a compassion that happens for that, just seeing how individuals are living. And it's not to go in as like the savior role, because a lot of times we think that we're going in as a savior role, but it's really like one of my friends said over in Scotland. He said, no, it's a soldier role. You're going in to empathize, and you don't put on somebody because they don't know the lifestyle that we have lived. So that's kind of the second thing that I was really learning underneath that. And then you got these incredible people that just, like you said, that sacrifice, that put themselves on the line. And it's just, can I just even keep up with them? It's just some amazing, amazing individuals. So coming back from that theater, I was still running track and field with the All-Army track and field team. And I won 9 gold medals in All-Army track and field competition, went to 2 Olympic trials in 88 and 92 in the hurdles, 110-meter high hurdles, the long jump, in 88, and then in 92 went to the 400-meter hurdle. So that was an amazing experience, and was on my way to my 3rd Olympic trials, and really had what I call, I was sailing, right? I found my event, the 400-meter hurdles. I was just on top of the world. I was the top 10 United States hurdler. I was top 20 in the world. And USA Track and Field News had said I was one of the favorites to watch to make the 1996 Olympic team. But on May 17th, 1994, at 5:29 in the afternoon, I was like I said, one of the fastest hurdlers in the world. And at 5:30, I would never run another hurdle in my life. So yeah.
Wow. So amazing, amazing story. What you were doing. One, I think from a military perspective, I think a lot of us don't understand what that looks like. We have no idea. I mean, you guys go over there, there's some bombs going off. We see some Humvees going through the desert or wherever. You guys are there with guns. We hear gunshots and gunfire sometimes. You know, you have the news teams that are sometimes even there, you know, somewhere near the battle. And we really don't understand that. You talked about starving out a people, right? Trying to get a chokehold on a situation. And there's a lot of casualties of war I think we don't understand. One,
right.
We know about our own, but we don't realize there's people out there on the other side, some of whom aren't even soldiers, right? They're just caught in the madness, caught in the crossfire. We don't know what it's like to have war on our soil. I mean, we've been attacked in any way very few times, obviously Pearl Harbor, and then something like 9/11, and we're like, never forget, right? The fact that we can never forget, I think, is fascinating because it shows how blessed we are that we don't have this kind of stuff. Like, there's countries all over the world where they can't pinpoint the battle and say never forget, right?
Well, think about that, right? So we have coming up 9/11, right? Which is, that's an attack.
Yes.
That's an attack on American soil, right? That came to us using our own equipment, infiltrating, getting in to do that. And think about that going on daily in your country.
I mean, help us understand that. Like, that's a reality in countries, right?
It's a reality. And so we lost lives, and we got ticked off about it. We went, to battle. Whether we went to the right country or not, that can be debatable. But what I'm saying is that we lost lives.
Yes.
And when you see that, you see you see people jumping out of buildings because they think they're going to survive because the fire is so intense they don't want to burn, so they'd rather jump to their death, right? That is a different psychology of what, and if that keeps going on daily and daily and daily, you begin to understand what people's psyche comes up to. But we don't see that. We don't see the aftermath, as you say. You don't see the carnage of bodies. You don't see what a body looks like when it's just laying on the ground and it's ripped apart. You don't see that stuff, and nor should you. Wow. And so it's not, kind of sensationalized by these games that we play on videos. And I'm not knocking video games. What I'm saying is, a lot of times you get into the life.
You're right.
But when you actually see a body ripped apart, you know that life is not coming back. It's not coming back over here.
Yeah.
Right. And so that is something I think that people just, maybe they should walk the battlefield and just see what they're talking about of what's happening in that space. So and I get that we go to battles, we go to wars and things, but my wife is kind of funny because she's got all her glots and everything. She got she's packed and stacked, ready to rock. And I won't, I think I maybe picked up a weapon twice since Desert Storm, because it's hard for me to do that, right? And that's just me. I mean, I get, people want to do that, they want to rock and roll, stand the Capitol, like this, and
Not you.
it's a different thing when you're talking about human life, right? It's a different thing. So anyway, that's kind of
That's incredible.
my shift of focus. But after that day, and on at 5:30, right, I'd come back from Operation Desert Shield, Desert Storm without a scratch. There were, now was kind of, I had some PTSD a little bit, but in the meantime, I was still trying to make an Olympic team. And I went across a hurdle on May 17th, 1994, as I was training for a race the next day. I went across a hurdle. I landed awkwardly. I dislocated my left knee. I severed the artery behind the kneecap. And 7 days later, because of reconstructive surgery that was not working well to repair the artery, I chose to amputate my left leg just to have a way of life that would be better. And that is, you just never know what life is going to take. Life can change with one wrong step. It can change with one wrong step. We talk about in the disability community, many people who are coming up and aging. Now I'm in Chicago right now, and I'm in a hotel room because that's why my background is not like fancy like yours right now. But I'm with my parents because they're aging, and trying to really help them through on this journey in life. And as they are going through and finding out that, their mobility is waning, memory is waning as well. And I know that a lot of folks are going out there, and that can be a real fear to help, parents. And what do you do in those moments? How do you show up and be patient, to be kind? We call it being twice a child. And I'm looking at this from the standpoint of, when I go through this process, trying to get my kids to understand what's happening, so you can help me if my memory starts to wane and go, and I can't get around like I used to. These are really some really challenging days, but they can also be great days too. It's our perspective of how we look at it, how we shift our mindset around it. Are we going to look at it as, oh my gosh, this is a burden? Or is this a great blessing and an opportunity to really be of service? Because when you were born, you had somebody help you get to the top when you were toddling, and then up to moving and get to school and get to baseball practice or football practice, whatever it was. They helped you do that, and now it's kind of the roles reverse, and we get a chance to help our parents their final days. So it's hard. I'm not going to lie. It's really hard. It's probably one of the hardest things I've been through, but at the same time, it's very gratifying, very rewarding that, my wife, my daughter, we can come here and really serve. My son comes here, when he can get off work as well. So it's really great to see this and do this as a family together. Yeah.
It's incredible. And I think that's another one of those challenges in life that we don't often talk about. I mean, you've seen carnage on the battlefield, you face personal tragedy, but then to come to the realization, like, life is about love, it's about family, it's about those relationships, it's about giving back to those who gave to you, and to make the time and take the time. I think so often we take it for granted. We know that there's that time, our time on earth is finite. Like, we know that, yet we live like it's not, right? We live like we got forever. Like, they're going to be there to answer the call. I lost my mom in March of this year, and I literally was laying in bed last night just listening to her voice play in my head. And I was just thinking, I can still hear her words. I can still hear her voice. I would give anything to actually have that conversation with her again. But right now I can still hear those. But boy, don't I wish I had taken more time to hear more of those words, because this past Christmas, Thanksgiving, I didn't know those would be the last ones. I didn't know. I was like, yeah, this is a good time. We're having a good time. And, seeing her after that, but not realizing that would be the last one. So we have to really slow down in life and really pay attention to those moments. And I love that you're even bringing your children along for the journey so they understand what this is like, because one day you're saying, I may need you like they need me. And let's make sure as a family, it's a legacy that we can continue to carry on. So I applaud you for that and for the adversity that you've overcome. So, being an athlete, Olympic trials, things like this, that's not easy stuff. Help us understand the kind of discipline. One from a military perspective, then as an Olympic athlete or someone that's the kind of discipline that a lot of us shy away from, and all we see is the excitement of someone, celebrating or winning a medal. We don't know what it takes to prepare for something like that. Help us understand that.
Yeah, that's such a great question, Lucas. The mindset around trying to become the best in the world at something on a particular day and a particular window of time on that day. It's when you talk about backwards planning, or going back and begin with the end in mind, as Stephen Covey would say. It's to the nth degree, right? Because it goes beyond trying to earn a paycheck. It goes beyond trying to win the accolades that really come with it. Very few athletes are trying to do that for kind of self gratification. Right. It's more of this internal press, this internal desire to see what is actually possible. How can I push my body to excellence? And it's the grind, because what we see on the track, right, is, Michael Johnson sprinting 200 meters. We see the 19 and some change seconds, or we see Usain Bolt, sprinting out. And we only see that small period of time. Seconds, right? We don't see the work that went into that. We don't see the injuries. We don't see the way the mindset has to work to actually train to that level, to know that on this day I'm going to put enough work in that the average of my experience is going to come out to a win. Man. Right? And so so my coach, Remy Korchimny, my last coach I had, he said one thing to me that I always took into consideration every day. And he said that, John, everything is training. Everything is training. It's how you eat. It is how you rest and recover. It is how you walk off of a curb. It's what you choose to do and not to do. Don't go play a pickup game of basketball because you might twist your ankle or sprain your knee or something, and it takes you out of commission for a couple of days. It's +1 days. He didn't say, I kind of coined that term, +1 days. +1 days are days which you will train that your competition will not. Is it when your competitor, it's raining outside and you're going to go out there and train in the rain because your competitor will not? Is it snowing outside? Are you going to shovel the track off and get out there and do your work and put your sweats on and make sure you're getting those reps in when your competitor will not? And we can take that, we can move that into the things that we do on a daily practice. What I say now with inside of resilience, I've broken it down to the 10 letters and the 10 words. So I use it as an acronym, and I help business professionals use that when they're going through a challenging time. And then the R stands for a ritual. What rituals do we have in place? The ritual then leads on to a rhythm, and the rhythm will elevate us to our rise. So that works in every situation where we have to have this ritual in place. What are the rituals that you have in place right now that will elevate you to the rise that's in your life? And Olympians and Paralympians know that. Think about this in the mindset that Olympians and Paralympians, if they're training 4 years from today, the way they're training today, they've already lost the gold medal. It is always about the mantra of Citius, Altius, Fortius. Citius, Altius, Fortius are the Latin words that, when translated into English, are swifter, higher, stronger. Wow. So when the reason I like those words, and I think it was so amazing that these the folks that Pierre de Coubertin, who started the modern day Olympics again, and Sir Ludwig Gutmann, who started the Paralympic Games, founded the Paralympic Games. The reason those words are so important is because they're not written in the superlative of the word. The superlative, not the highest. It's not the highest form of the word. Right. The highest form of the word for swifter is swiftest. Yeah. Higher is highest. Stronger, strongest. But they're not written like that. It's not swiftest, highest, strongest. They're written with an ER stem ending that we can have our best performances today and be even better tomorrow. I can be the swiftest today, but somebody else can be swifter tomorrow. I could jump the highest today, but I could jump higher tomorrow. Think about it. When we saw Michael Johnson, win the 200-meter dash at the 1996 Atlanta Games, I thought that record was going to stand for eons. Just like this 1968 games when Bob Beamon jumps 29 feet 2.5 inches. It's still the Olympic record, but the world record beaten by Michael Powell, 29 feet 4 inches, right? 4.5 inches. And he does that when Carl Lewis has his best jumps ever in the same competition. It was in Tokyo, right? So Carl jumps 4 times at 29 feet. And Mike Powell wins the competition with the world record. So we can have our best performances.
Yeah.
But we can be better tomorrow. And so I love that framing of that, we can do that in our own lives. We can have our best performance today and be even better tomorrow. It's like when I train salespeople, right? Same thing. Okay. We got a great year, we got a great quarter, we got a great half year, whatever it is, but we can be better. Mm-hmm. We can be better in a downturn market. And so it's just what's the mindset that you are going to use? And so my talks right now, my presentations are really all about mindset, because when you're training for an Olympic Games and a Paralympic Games, mm-hmm. it's the mindset that matters the most. You can put whatever, I think I'm going to get it wrong, someone say, but there are individuals that, when you talk about this, and that you do from the sports psychology, is that the body is really controlled by what the mind says it's doing. And so you can push through a lot of pain and push through a lot of the hard times and the tough workouts just by training your mind in the right way. So yeah, that's the mindset of an Olympian. They're thinking, I'm going to be better tomorrow than I am today. What is it? What's all the stuff? How am I fueling my body? And you can shift your mindset to make sure that you can do those things.
I love that. Many of the things you said there about mindset. First of all, I don't think we realize how powerful our minds are. We don't realize how much we're sabotaging ourselves. I've been thinking a lot about cursing, as in people are like, don't say curse words. But I'm like, cursing is more than a bunch of 4-letter words. We curse our ability. We train our brain to think we're less than because of the things we say to ourselves. And sometimes the person who comes across to us as the most confident, they seem like they got it all together, in the mirror, alone to themselves, they're beating themselves up. Nothing's ever good enough. They're never going to be skinny enough, strong enough, smart enough, whatever. They're always going to be single. Their marriage is never going to be better. They're, never going to be able to overcome the injury, whether it be physical, mental, emotional, the injuries that have happened to them, to get back up and go again. I like, in your story, so you were a runner, you hurt your leg, you make a decision to get an amputation, which I can't even imagine what that conversation, what that decision is like.
Pain, man. I was in pain.
Man, to decide to amputate. And then to go from running, and then you started swimming. Talk to us a little bit about that. So you change venues, and I think that's a big part of the story. You said, well, what works? What can I do? So you started swimming, and then I think you went on to do some Olympic, Paralympic events with swimming.
So the swimming. Before I get this, I'll get to right to swimming, but I gotta jump back just a little bit.
Sure.
In my After the amputation, and then think about that, there are things in our life that we can choose to let go and release of, right? It's hard because we have a lot of baggage on the other side, and who's going to go with us, and who's going to have that courage to go with us. And sometimes a lot of folks just don't have the courage to go with us, so we have to go first. Yeah. It was my wife, Alice, who really helped me frame the mindset together, because I was in so much pain. I thought that after I got rid of the leg, the pain would go away. Now I got this phantom pain thing that's hitting me, and I'm sweating. I'm just like, heart rate's up. I just couldn't. It was just really, really bad.
Help us understand real quick. Phantom pain. What?
Phantom. Yeah, that's great. So phantom pain is the amputee or the amputation is taking place still feeling as if the leg is there, but you have that's phantom sensation, so you just kind of feel it's still there. Phantom pain is actually some people experience the trauma all over again, and they're sensing, because the leg's healing on the inside for me and on the outside. And when it's whatever is going on inside there, the nerve endings are still firing. And it's just like, where are you? What's going on? And so that to me felt like a knife was kind of sawing at the back of my Achilles tendon the entire time. That's what it was. It was like, it was just on my Achilles, and it was just a knife cutting through there. That's the pain I was in. It was just tremendous. It was all the time, it was constant. And I just kind of had, just kind of grit down and bear it. Okay, maybe tomorrow will be a little bit better, and tomorrow's worse. And then maybe tomorrow's a little bit better, and tomorrow's worse, right? So it was still firing. That was what was going on. I don't have it all the time now. It's subsided to maybe 3 or 4 times a year. But and sometimes it'll last for 3 days, and sometimes it'll last for a couple hours. But I still will get it, even this far away from it. But when I was in my worst moment and I was thinking about, okay, what's my identity now? Who am I? Am I still going to be a father to my son, John Jr.? He's 5.5 years old. Will I still be a husband to my wife? Will she still stay with me? Will Alice stay with me? Do I still have a job in the military? Can I support my family? I mean, my Olympic dreams are over. How am I going to live this life? Who am I now? What's my identity? And it was Alice when she wheels me out in this wheelchair to this inaccessible playground. So I'm parked there. I can't move any forward because of the rocks. And I'm parked there to watch my wife and my son play on the swings. And I couldn't push myself out of that chair, Lucas. And in that, I felt the full brunt of change, of what I could not do any longer. I mean, not that I wouldn't be able to do them later, but in this moment right now, I cannot do this. And I can't push myself out of the chair. And the tears just started flowing from I started crying uncontrollably, just heaving sobs. And Alice, she saw me struggling. She comes running over. She wraps her arms around me and said, "What is going on? What is wrong?" And I began to articulate to her all of the fears that I had, all those fears that were pressing upon me in that one moment in time, the whole weight that I felt in my whole life shift, my whole life change. And then she said the words that stopped that downward spiral. She said, "You know what, John? We're going to get through this together. It's just our new normal. It's just our new normal." And when she spoke those words, she really baselined my entire existence. And I began to think about that. We will get through this together. Okay, she's not leaving me. Okay, that's a selfish thing, right? That's a selfish thing. Yeah. I don't want my wife to leave me. That's selfish. And that we can get through this together. This is just our new normal. What does that phrase even mean? But in that moment, I'm like, what is that? So I began. It dropped into my spirit. And then I see John Jr. He's on the swing set. He jumps off the swing. He's 5.5 years old, hits the ground, comes running over. "Hey, Dad, you see my big jump? You see my big jump, Dad?" And in those 20 yards, he just validated me as his father. Wow. He had just created his new normal. Yeah. And I began to shift and understand that, okay, this is something different. This might be the most painful part of my existence up until this point, but there is hope. Yes. On the other side, there is hope in this new normal. And I began to understand what I share with my audiences now. The new normal is not a destination as most people use it right now, right? We're in this COVID situation, we're in the COVID environment, and people say, "I can't wait till things get back to normal," or "I can't wait till we jump into this new normal." Or we're here, we've arrived at this new normal. No, the new normal is not a destination. Wow. It's like the Citius Altius Fortius. It's the swifter, higher, stronger. It's we can have this baseline today and be even greater tomorrow. It's not a destination, it's a plateau to grow. Wow. So I started swimming for physical therapy. And I just to try, I couldn't make it halfway across the pool. I was so weak and devastated, but I was trying to get my body to respond with all the medication I was going through and trying to get it out of my body, right, to get myself back. Because I never took any drugs, I never took anything, I didn't even like cough medicine, right? Because it just made anything I put into my body ingested. Remember, we talked about what it takes in the mindset to be a champion, an Olympian. And anything that's foreign that goes in, you can feel the shift in the body. And I never wanted any of that in me because I wanted the pure experience in the endorphins to speak for themselves. So as I'm swimming, I'm starting to get this feeling back again of the endorphins coming back, and I can control, at least I can control this. And so a half a lap across the pool turned into a full lap, lengthened lap, right? And then I started getting up to like a half mile, and it was only to try to get myself back into some type of shape. But I got so fast in the water and got a little coach to help me with my stroke technique. Because I poured myself into it and the ritual turned into a rhythm elevated me to a rise, I somehow messed up, looked up and made the Paralympic swim team 27 months later.
Messed around and made the Paralympic swim team. Incredible.
But here's the funny thing. I didn't know I had made the team. The only thing I was trying to do was make the swim trials, right? I figured that would be the good mark on the wall. I will go to the swim trials, and that would be kind of the coup de grace. That'd be it, right? I'd be back. I could live my life after that, and I wasn't not even trying to make a team because I know what it took to make an Olympic team.
Right.
So I was like, no, I'll try to make the trials, and that would be a great test of me coming back. So not only did I make the trials, I left. I went back. I was living in Virginia at the time, working for the United States Army's Community and Family Support Center. And I'm running the World Class Athlete Program as a sports specialist for athletes that are still trying to make the 1996 Olympic team where I can't make it anymore, right? So I go to the 1996 Paralympic trials. I do my best. I don't think I made it. I don't think I've hit the time that I needed. And I go home and I get a call from Coach Cal from Catholic University. He's one of our coaches, and he says, "Why did you leave before the team was announced?" I said, "Well, I didn't make the time, and I needed 106 flat to make it, and I swam like 106.01 or 106.02. I'm good, thank you, I appreciate the time." Right. He said, "Well, idiot, At the 50-meter mark, we count that time for like a bona fide time in the swim. So it's like a bona fide 50-meter. So I was faster at the 50-meter, and it actually made the Paralympic standard at the 50-meter point in the 100-meter swim. And because of that, they were able to qualify me and pick me up for the relay team.
Amazing.
So I swam the 50-meter freestyle and the 4x100-meter medley relay.
Incredible.
The anchor leg, can you believe it? So I was like, so that's, but I realized at that time that things were possible, that excellence was possible again, that you could compete. And it was just excellence is excellence wherever you stand. There's always something or somebody or some entity that you can measure yourself against to see how well you're performing and doing. I just didn't realize that with one leg.
Right.
Right. So I'm trying to compare myself to what I used to do.
Yeah.
When I had two.
Yeah.
And that world for me I can't compare that world because that's not the right comparison any longer. Yeah. But my mind is still thinking about that. See, that there goes the mind again.
Yep.
The mind says I can still be that, but I'm not that any longer. And that's where we get stuck.
We need a new normal. And I love the mindset shift to a new normal. I think so often we're trying to get back to what was, and what was is gone no matter what.
It's gone.
Well, no matter how good it was, no matter how bad it was, no matter what it was, there will be a new normal. And the interesting thing is to me about this COVID-19 pandemic world that we're in, that most of us we're so busy thinking about the future and it no longer being this way that I think we're missing the lessons in the moment, right? There's a lot to learn in the moment when you're going through the pain or dealing with the difficulty or dealing with the tragedy. The lessons you learn in those moments are what's going to propel you when things get back to a new normal and help you accept the new normal. What's that?
So you said that in these moments we don't capture, and I think it's really important for us to journal what's going on, what's happened in our life, because eventually we will get back to the way things used to be for ourselves, but even though it's not back there, we'll still get up to a moment of comfort.
Yes.
It'll be comfortable for us and we'll be complacent again.
Yeah.
And we have to remember what this moment was like. And so it's really critical to journal. I wrote a book called 10 Power Stories to Impact Any Leader. Journal your way to leadership success. It's on Kindle. And the reason I wrote it was because for moments like these, we need to find our own story. And those stories will help us the next time we go through. It helps with our resilience muscle. So yes, we don't go back to that way. But even when we talk about, you said you're a Christian, when Christ comes, right? He says that it's going to be as in the days of Noah. Yeah. So there will be something that's going on with people working, they're marrying, they're drinking, they're having their fun and everything, and then boom.
Yep.
Right. Yep. So that's the complacency that's going to come again, and we'll get there. We'll get back to a sense of that, even though we don't know about it now. But the point is, journal it. Journal what you're doing right now, so you do not forget what's happening. Do not forget the unrest. Hey, Latasha. All right, Latasha. So it's really important to understand that these moments need to be captured. Capture George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery. Capture what's going on with police officers. I got family that are police officers right now, and they're catching it on both sides. Wow. Understand what's going on in this moment, and why are we there? The question to ask is not those people or them or left and right or red and blue. The question to ask is, what about you?
Wow.
What are you doing?
Wow.
Who are you showing up as in this moment? And why are you showing up that way?
Wow.
Who told you to show up this way? What was in your family DNA or your friendships or the people that you hang out with that say you need to be this?
That's huge. That's huge.
Yeah. And that is that's the power of that mindset, right? Why am I showing up like this?
Yeah.
And that's what I was learning as I was going through this whole system, this whole process. Because people would ask me all the time, John, how'd you do it? How'd you overcome the adversity? I said, I don't know. I just did it, right?
You didn't have a journal. You didn't have a track of it. You didn't keep track of it at the time.
So and so so I began to unpack it, right? So I'll finish the story, and because it was really at those Paralympic Games in Atlanta that I saw athletes running and jumping on artificial limbs. It was so I'm sitting this in the stands with Summer Sanders. She's a phenomenal, swimmer, Olympian, and just an amazing person, right? I didn't really know her too much, except I saw her on TV, right? And then, so she stayed for the Paralympic Games, and we were, a lot of us were in the stands kind of watching events going off. So I just happened this day to be sitting with her, and she's educating me on swimming because I don't know anything about swimming. And closed circuit television came up, and I was intrigued because there was this gentleman on the long jump runway. He's an above the knee amputee like myself. And I said, oh, and I saw the camera zoom in on him. And one of my All-American honors was at the University of Arkansas, was in the long jump. In 1985, Texas, I was sixth place in the long jump in NCAA, so earned an All-American honor. So I'm really intrigued by this guy. He starts running down the long jump runway, leg over leg, and he hits the takeoff board. He leaps into the air, and at the apex, the height of his flight, his artificial leg flies off. And he lands here, artificial leg lands about 3 feet up in front of him. Whole crowd goes like that great Home Alone movie, Chicago movie with Macaulay Culkin.
Like, what happened? What just happened?
What happened?
Right.
Whole crowd dead silent. And the long jumper, who is now, disattached from his leg, he turns back to the official and says, hey, so where are you going to measure my jump from? From right here, my leg landed up here.
Didn't miss a beat. It was moving.
I said, that's amazing attitude to have. And I started thinking about it. Okay, I can be doing something excellent, but not in the same lane,
Yes. Yes.
not on my pathway, not on my journey, not on what I was designed and made to do. I can do something great, and I'm wasting time over here, even though I'm doing something excellent.
Incredible.
I'm made, designed to run. My acumen is all about running
Wow.
and
Wow.
jumping. And so in my mind, at that moment, I hadn't even run one step in an artificial leg, and I knew I was going to be on the team 4 years later. I knew I was going to win a medal 4 years later. I was going to tell you what the color was, but I knew I was going to win it.
Some medals.
I said, because I can do that.
Right. That's amazing.
I just need to learn it.
Right.
I can focus. I can have the discipline. I can do it, and have the wherewithal, and have the discipline to do that. All I need to do is have a leg made for running, and if I can keep it on, I know I can beat that dude.
I'm sure I can. That's incredible. I mean, to see something like that, I think a lot of us, never see the Paralympic Games. We don't know what that's about. We don't realize the adversity. I think, as I said, you named Michael Johnson. I remember the 96 Olympics, watching Michael Johnson with his gold chains, running the gold shoes.
Yeah.
listening to Tupac coming out, "Be Against the World," and I was in high school, and I was just mesmerized by this guy. Like, wow, like his ability, his talent, the way he carried himself, his confidence, the way he interviewed, everything about him was like, man, this guy works really hard to get to where he is. And then to go on to see other athletes like the Usain Bolt, he just makes it look easy. He's just out there skating. It's like somebody find his skates. To the Michael Phelps, who, this extremely decorated athlete, to the many women, Allison Felix and the many women in those women relays and those teams. I mean, my wife ran track in high school and college. Our daughter, who's 11, runs track now, AAU, and she's been to the Junior Olympics already, and she's very talented. And my wife ran for the University of Akron and has records and did a lot. To realize the work that went in, and she talks about the discipline it took to be great. When she decided to focus in and really take her craft seriously and prove people wrong and say, I can be great, right? It doesn't matter where I came from. None of that matters. No excuses. She changed her mindset, and it changed her life. And now she applies that to so many things. Shout out to my wife. I'm always blown away by the things that she can do. If she puts her mind to something, just forget about it. But you have to be able to see it and believe it to do it. You saw something different. You believe something different. You did something different. A lot of people are afraid, though, John. So help us understand, when you teach people to overcome fear, what is your message around that? Because I think most of us are afraid. I think we're afraid to even be great. We don't really know what that looks like, and we wonder if we're going to be able to maintain. How do you help people deal with fear?
Yeah, a lot of it has to, again, it goes back to the mindset, right? And so what are we thinking? So I describe it in 3 buckets. So I did have that leg made for running. I wound up going to the Paralympic Games 4 years later. For those that don't know, the Paralympic Games are the parallel games to the Olympic Games. Who knew? I didn't know that. But the parallel games, the Olympic Games, they started in 1948. It started with injured veterans from World War II. 1960, the first games. Most people get it confused with Special Olympics, which are for cognitive disabilities. So the two are very different governance structure. In the United States, the Olympics and Paralympics are one governance structure. They are in Colorado Springs, Colorado. We just have the Olympic and Paralympic Museum. That's that's in Colorado Springs. Now, if you get a chance to go out there and visit it, you can actually see my leg is in one of the halls there. The leg I jumped in Sydney. But the Spirit of Freedom model is really interesting, because I told you a little bit earlier to your listeners that when people were asking me, how did you come through it? How did you overcome it? I couldn't explain it until I said to a buddy of mine, I was sitting and having breakfast with him. I said, had I overcome the amputation of my left leg, I'd have my leg back. And when I spoke those words, I said, oh, that's right. I was thinking I was going to get something back that was no longer there. And so usually fear begins with something of loss. We think we're losing something, and we're trying to hold on to that, whether it's power, whether it's relationship, whether it's love, whatever it might be. We're trying to hold on to that, and that's the fear. That's why we have to identify what is the fear. So it could be fear of, like when I said, I thought my wife Alice was going to leave, and my son John Jr. wasn't going to see me. I wasn't going to be able to support myself. I'm going to lose my cubicle. I'm going to lose my office. I got to leave. I got to go back home. I got to work from home now. All these things I'm feeling as loss. I feel isolated. Think about COVID. A lot of people are feeling isolated, and they're not showing up at work. So that's a fear that people have in their mind. The second thing is fear of others, either other people who are believing for us what we can or cannot do, which is based on what they believe they could or could not do if they were in our situation, or they're trying to pull us back into that moment in time to help them feel comfortable around the loss that's in it. It pulls us into that space, or we believe what they're saying about us, and that's another fear. Am I really what other people are saying about me? Right. And then third are the societal stigmas, the societal fears that we have. What is society saying to me about how I'm supposed to act and operate in this realm? Is that what's driving my fears of Alice leaving me or John Jr. not seeing me? When I watched the Walt Disney movie, the cute movie of Peter Pan, and I'm 5 or 6 years old, I see it for the first time. I see Captain Hook. Captain Hook is an amputee.
Wow.
His arm bit off by Tick-Tock the crocodile. And he's dark, he's mysterious, he's scary. He's always, threatening the kids with that hook arm.
Right.
Because he's disformed, he's disfigured. But wait a minute, I'm now an amputee. Am I the villain? Am I the one that's dark, mysterious, and scary?
Wow.
Is that why children go down a different aisle? Because moms and dads tell them it's impolite to stare. We don't want to interrupt this man with whatever's going on in his life. We're going to go down a different aisle of the grocery store. Am I the one to be afraid of? People to be afraid of?
Wow.
So that comes into our mindset. How am I showing up and how are people perceiving me? And that begins to be this fear. So then we believe we're going to get it back again, right? So like I said, I thought if I overcame the amputation of my leg, I'd have my left leg back. But what happens is we begin rebuilding second bucket now. We're in the second bucket. And the second bucket of rebuilding is really a false summit, because we're trying to rebuild on the same foundation that we had before. We think we're rebuilding on the old mindset, right? Remember, I was trying to think about swimming as I used to swim with 2 legs, or think about running as I used to run with 2 legs, but now I have one. It's a new foundation, but I'm still thinking at this moment in time that I'm building on this old foundation, and so I have this rebuilding to this redefining moment, till I have this redefining moment, and the redefining moment is, am I going to show up in those fears that I used to have of self, others, and society, or will I have the courage to actually identify and release or get rid of or amputate my fear?
Wow.
Until I come to understanding the third bucket, which is not a rebuilding moment. It is actually rebuilding the entire foundation. It's a rebirth.
Wow.
Because I'm learning how to do things over again in a new space.
Amazing.
Right? So I don't just run into the Paralympic Games. I have to learn how to maneuver a wheelchair to get to my prosthetic appointment. When I get to my prosthetic appointment, I have to stand up in the parallel bars, strap on an artificial leg, and learn how to walk safely inside the parallel bars. But I can't walk without those parallel bars, so I need a 4-bar walker to walk first. And then from the walker to crutches, right? And then from crutches to a cane. And from a cane to walking freely with that leg once I get the comfort level. That takes time to do. That is a rebirth process. Think about it, a baby learning to walk again, to learn to walk. They toddle, and they're holding on to things, and they hold on to your leg, and they make it a few steps, and they tumble over. So all these things I'm learning to do fresh and new, and that's the same thing that we have to do inside of COVID, inside of relationships, inside of wherever we are. We have to learn how to redo these things, but building it off of a different mindset, a different platform. And that equals, Lucas, our it equals our resolve. It produces a resolve in us. Once we get strong enough, I am resolute in who I am.
Yes.
No longer am I going back to the way other people are seeing me.
Yes.
You need to catch up to where I am.
I love it. I love it. Incredible story. Incredible journey. Again, I saw you on LinkedIn and was just so impressed with what you had shared. Just hearing about your story and seeing it from that perspective, but to get this up close look and to hear you talk about it and to hear the resolve that you clearly have, to hear how you're now helping others with this in business, and it sounds like in life. I mean, these are life lessons that can translate across anything we're dealing with, anything we're working on. I think most of us feel that if we lost, when we lose anything that is amputated from us, be it a job, a relationship, our children even going off to adulthood or college, where we lose something, right? And that amputation, that losing of something that was such a part of us, often is paralyzing, right? So you went from, instead of being paralyzed, you found the strength to go on and become a Paralympian. Like, that's a huge gap between I'm paralyzed by what happened to me to I'm going to excel in this state that I'm in. I'm going to have a rebirth. I'm going to become a new me. Mm-hmm. And those that knew me here are going to have to meet me over here because I don't have time to go back and catch you up with what's going on. You're going to have to get to know me over here and love it or leave it or take it or not. This is who I am today. I love that. Before we go, I'd love for you to share how people can get a hold of you and what services you offer. You talked about your book, your journal. You work with businesses. There's people watching here on LinkedIn, Facebook, Periscope, YouTube. They may watch today. They may watch later today. They may watch a year from now. How can they get a hold of you, and what services can you offer them?
I appreciate that offer. You talk about education, motivation, liberation. The liberating factor for us right now is that once we get to that redefining moment and we have now had this resolve, that is our liberation. And the liberation is for us not to be free for ourselves, but it's actually to go back and liberate somebody else, to be empathetic to where somebody else in their fear, and then bring them forward. So the way that people get a hold of me and what I do now is I help businesses, business professionals to hurdle adversity, amputate fear, embrace a new normal mindset to win the medals that are in their life. And so I work with a lot of different companies, from NASA to Gilead Sciences to, Smile Brands Dental. It's looking at how we can go faster by shedding the baggage that we have. And the process and the systems in which we can do that. So I have this whole process that we navigate around. And it's really, it does begin with mindset. A lot with, the Arbinger Institute does a phenomenal job with this on we can put whatever we want to in place, whatever widget it is that we want to excel to reach the top, the highest mountain peak. But if our mindset is not right there, it'll try to pull everything back over. People can get a hold of me at johnregister.com. johnregister.com. You can hit the book me now button or to have a conversation, just to talk through some of these concepts and how it might work for your squad, for your team. You can follow me as right here, like on all these platforms. I'm probably the most active on LinkedIn because that's where my kind of community hangs out. And we have another show that we do ourselves, which is our Hurdlers of Adversity. So we're introducing people to individuals who have what I wouldn't really call overcome the adversity, at least not what we often think about. Like I said, I did not overcome the amputation of my left leg. What was it? What was the mindset that I had to shift from? So we're having these individuals come on the show to actually help them, help others with that mindset. So you can reach me at that. Once again, that website is www.johnregister.com. If you want to join our group, we have a Facebook group that we just started up like about 3 weeks ago, and we're starting to have some really robust conversations. I kind of push these streams into there, even though we don't have a whole lot of folks. I'm not like you right now, like thousands of people, but I have like they're about a little just shy of 100. That group has grown pretty fast, but it's really individuals who want information and a community that will talk to them about some of these fears. Like I said, in COVID, we have isolation that's going on right now. People are really fearful of either the disease or the virus that's out there, what's going to come next behind it, and how am I going to stay at home and train my children in school? I still got a job to work. All these fears are starting to come out, and how do we manage through some of that? We're having some of those really true, robust conversations there, and you can find that at if you go to facebook.com/groups with an S /amputate fear. And then you can just go to, I have that we just talked about that fear to freedom pathway. That pathway is at amputatefear.com. If you go to amputatefear.com, that kind of goes like a little back page of my website. It's not all the way set up, but you can get that download. It comes right to you. Just put your information there and you'll get a free download of that fear to freedom pathway. It's just a little sheet. You can use it to kind of see where you might be on the path, and then join our Facebook group, because that's where we're having some of those robust conversations. So thank you so much for allowing me to share that. The book is called, again, 10 Power Stories to Impact Any Leader, Journal Your Way to Leadership Success, and that is over on Kindle.
Awesome. John, you've been a wonderful guest here today. I'm so grateful to have you. So glad you were willing to come on the show and share your story, share your journey. I think this is something that we need more of. It's something certainly that I'm excited for my audience to have. We talk about education, motivation, liberation. Again, I believe somebody was set free today because they had some excuse that they were saying, I'll never be who I used to be. And you're saying, so what? Don't be who you used to be.
Right.
Be the new you, and fly and run and swim and go and change lanes if you have to. Change games if you have to. Whatever you have to do to succeed, you can succeed. You can do it. You can overcome. Thank you. I appreciate it. It was a blessing. It was a pleasure having you here today. Thank you so much, John. You stay right here. Ladies and gentlemen, we had our great guest here today, John Register. You guys make sure you check him out. He told you all the ways you guys can get a hold of him, all the ways you guys can check him out. Please do. Please check him out. Please follow him. You guys don't know, one day, somebody you see on this show could be the person that could change your life forever. You may not think it that moment or that day. You're like, oh, it's another good show. It was another good guest. But you may miss the fact that that was the guest that you needed to connect to, because their story and their services and what they have is the thing that you needed to set you free, or your loved one free, or your parents, your child, your relative, your neighbor. Ladies and gentlemen, we do this 3 days a week because I want to make sure I'm impacting lives through this platform. That's what it's all about. We have some great things coming up, having some great discussions. We're going to have some great stuff coming up this week. Make sure you guys check out the show this week and then in coming weeks. And then we're going to be doing a lot of focus around voter registration, voting, the census. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have not completed your census, you have to go and complete your census. We are running out of time. I believe September 30th is now the deadline. They talked about extending it to December, then they went back, and I think it's the end of September. Ladies and gentlemen, your funds, your community, the education system in your towns, the roads being repaired, so many things, the housing in your areas are being impacted by census data. And too many people, I don't know what you're waiting on, but you got to do that census. You got to complete it. It's so important. And register to vote. You can't register to vote the day of voting. I believe voter registration ends early October, I believe, for you to register to vote. If you've moved since you've last voted, if you haven't voted in a while, if you've never voted and this is your first time voting, you have to register to vote. You can't just walk in and vote if you've never registered to vote. Please find your local board of elections, look up information, reach out to me if you have to. I'll help you find it. We're going to be doing some more education on that, letting you guys know how you guys can make sure that you're being an active member in our society, an active member in your local community, your state, and your national community. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for being here on another episode of Lucas Live. It was a pleasure having you guys again here today. Tomorrow morning, don't miss us at 8 a.m. Eastern. We'll be here with Dawn Pullen as she shares about her organization, Phenomenal Woman. I can't wait to talk to her. Everybody, I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Everybody have a great day.